The project for today is to fix the door check on this Golf 2016 Mk7. The door won't stay open. Here's the mechanism that keeps it open, and the lock part is inside the door, which means the door lining has to come off. This hand grip section needs to be removed, and at the front there's a little slot that allows you to get a screwdriver in or a flat lever and flick that off. And that comes off, and then there's the bolt in there. There's another bolt underneath the armrest, and there's a latch on the bottom of the door. It doesn't undo. You use a 10mm spanner to turn it 90 degrees, so the little wings that are facing sideways now need to face down, and that will release the bottom of the door. This is the type of bit that fits the bolts. It's a T30. I was a bit undecided about whether I should go ahead and take the door apart to see whether I could repair the keeper mechanism, and then if I couldn't, I'd have all the innards of the door pulled apart. So I decided I'd just go ahead and buy a replacement, which isn't all that expensive, and then I'm fairly sure that when I do take the door apart, I'll be able to repair it. So there it is. Now all I have to do is put it in the car. This piece pulls off, and the first nut is in here. There's that one. There's the second one. And the last one is a nut underneath the door. There's a nut underneath the door with a 10mm spanner. Just rotate it through 90 degrees so the little tags face down, which should allow it to release the lining, which it has. At this stage the window needs to be wound down so that you can get at the lining from the inside. The lining is pulled off the catches all the way around. Once the clips are all detached around the side, the lining will lift up so that you can get at the wire connectors inside the door. There are the connectors, probably easier to get to from the outside. This is the cable for the door release that pulls back and then it just disconnects. And here's the cables. There's a little piece to be depressed here, and that will allow the plug to come out. And the same with this one. And there's one up under here for the little light. The plug for the switches that control the windows is halfway down the door, and to get that off it's a matter of releasing this little red tab. And that's that one. And that's everything that's holding the liner on, so I can lift that off. This is the door strap that we need to get off. So to get into the back of it, I have to take the speaker out, which is held in place with rivets. So I'm going to drill those out, and this clip can just lift off. Little retaining hooks that hold that in place. It might be a job for two hands to get that off. That's one. And there's 4 in total, so I won't bother with that. We should be able to just pull the speaker off. Hopefully without breaking it. I need 2 hands for this because it's going to fall on the floor. This bolt that holds the strap to the body requires a 12 face bit, and on here it says 10. I don't know whether that's 10 mil, but that one's going to fit that. It's loose. So the assembly will come out through the hole for the speaker. It's got a rubber boot on the end. And I don't think it should be rattling like that. So we'll just take the boot off and see what's inside. So this is the problem. There's a plate. The whole thing's very dirty, even though the inside of the door is clean. This mechanism's dirty. So there's a plate underneath here, and there's a hole here that this spring has fallen out from, and that spring should be retained by this little plate, and that's just fallen out. So on the new one you can see there's a plate there and a plate there, and obviously there's springs underneath. So the old one's probably repairable, but I've got the new one, so I'm going to put it in. One of the bolts holding the strap in place was very hard to get undone, so I've decided to reinstate it with just ordinary hex bolts. So I just put this back in through the speaker hole and up into the door. And now the rubber boot needs to go back on. So that goes back onto there, and then the two bolts go back into here. So that's bolted back in, and we'll see whether it works. It's got one position halfway open and another one in the open position. It's holding there quite nicely. So now we've got to put it all back together, starting with the speaker. The speaker can go back on with rivets. So I've got the speaker riveted back in, and now it's a matter of reconnecting the wires. There's this little light for the alarm system, and these two, and the one for the windows, and then the door unlock cable. So I think I'll start with this one, which has to poke up into here. The wires are all reconnected. Now the top of the lining here fits into this slot here, and then it gets pushed down into place. So I've gone through and made sure all the controls work. The windows all go up and down, and the door lever works. So now it's just a matter of punching the clips back into place and reinstalling the screws. So it's all back together and works the way it should. Door's not going to crack me on the shin when I get in and out anymore. It's a fairly straightforward job. The only tricky part was that the bolts that go into the door here were hard to get undone. A bit of moisture in them. But if there's any questions or comments, I'd love to hear from you. Thank you very much.